Good morning, everybody. It's Paul from Alexander Knife Sharpening. It's Saturday. I'm getting ready to start my day of sharpening. And what I wanted to talk about briefly before I get on to the topic I want to show today about just something interesting that came into the shop is one thing I wanted to address. One of my followers seemed a little discouraged because when he's been watching my videos, he sees like the amount of equipment that I have. And I want to be real clear on something. So I do. There's a lot of equipment in the shop. I have 2 Tormek machines. I have a 2x42. I got 3 1x30s. I have a Wicked Edge over there. I have a Ken Onion Elite sharpener over here. Don't think because you see my shop and you see all this gear and that you can't start a sharpening business without spending tons and tons of money on equipment. I did not build my business that way. I didn't start out and go and buy all this equipment at one time. So for me, sharpening was a hobby before I decided to make it a career and full-time thing that I do. So I already enjoyed sharpening. I already had some sharpening systems and things in place, but you don't have to spend, $10,000 in gear to start a sharpening service. And I just want to be clear about that. So because you see a lot of things in the shop, if you are thinking about, I want to start a sharpening business, don't think you have to replicate what I have going here. You don't. I belong to the Guild of Professional Sharpeners. It's a great group of sharpeners from all around the United States and also in other countries. And what you realize if you start meeting other sharpeners and stuff, and the Guild is a great place to learn about building your business. I also, when I started with a book by a guy named Kyle Kaplan. It was a great book. I got it on Amazon, and I actually have a link to it on my website. I just started reading a book. And it wasn't even an expensive book. I think I bought the Kindle version. It was like $9, and Kyle just talked about how he started his sharpening service. And he didn't start with $10,000 worth of equipment. His goal was to make $10,000 extra a year and have something to do in his spare time, and he loved sharpening. And that's kind of how my business started too. I liked sharpening. I used to always follow the guys on Work Sharp and just watch those videos and learn more about sharpening, and then eventually decided after another business I had that the pandemic kind of killed, that I wanted to do something else, and that's how I ended up turning a hobby into a full-time sharpening business. So just because you see all this stuff, don't be disheartened. Don't think, I can't go start a sharpening business because I only have a little bit of money and I can't afford $10,000 or more worth of gear. You can, and you just have to use your brain. I'm not going to say you can't spend. I'm not going to say you can't do it with no money. Of course, you're going to have to spend a little money, but I would say you could definitely start for $1,000 to $1,500. You could get going and get out there and start sharpening and do well. And I've said many times to other people that one of the advantages of having multiple systems is, in my opinion, there's no one system that's great at doing everything. So as I made more money and I got more jobs and I did more things, I started adding equipment to make sharpening go faster and to be able to cover a broader range of things to sharpen. My really first big investment outside of knives was adding a twice as sharp machine to do scissors. Now, can you do scissors on other machines? Sure. I had a Tormek already at the time, and you could do scissors on Tormek. I just don't like doing scissors on a Tormek. So my recommendation to you and to most people would be, think very much about your market. Who are you trying to go after? Look at the other sharpening services in your area. Are there sharpening services? If there are and you have competition, look to see what they're not doing. If you have 3 really well established knife sharpeners in your business, but they're not doing scissors, maybe focus on doing scissors or something different first. But don't feel that because you see a lot of gear in my shop that you have to replicate this. You don't. You can start with a very little bit of money, and over time you will, I'm sure, add more equipment. We all end up doing it, but it's not something you have to do right out of the gates. Don't feel that you have to go spend a ton of money on building a shop, because keep in mind there's a ton of ways to sharpen, and I'm a proponent of not ever telling anybody that they're wrong or you can't do it that way, because there's guys that are super successful that are mobile sharpeners and they run everything out of the back of a van. There's guys that are super successful that have a delivery or pickup service, or that go on location and sharpen. There's guys like me that have a drop-off service where we only take stuff in. I don't go anywhere. My customers all come to me. These are all things you can figure out when you decide what market you want to go after, but don't feel that you can't do it with a lower amount of money. Like I said, not zero. You can't do it with zero money unless you already own some equipment. And so I just wanted to address that real quick. And one of the other reasons that this kind of stayed in my mind, and how I always say having multiple pieces of equipment to sharpen on is an advantage, because it just makes things easier and faster, because certain things are better at certain things. But like I said, I had something come in the shop yesterday. A guy called me up and said, "Hey, can you sharpen a onion chopper blades?" And I didn't know exactly what he meant. I said, can you send me a picture of it so I can take a look at it? And I've done similar things. Once I saw it, I kind of had an idea what it was, and I've done similar things to this. And this is one of those situations where I say, certain gear. Now I know guys that run their entire sharpening business with multiple Ken Onion Elite sharpeners, and you can do that. It's a great sharpener, and at $200 you can get started with a Ken Onion Elite for $200. Now, do I have a Ken Onion Elite? Absolutely, I do. And I don't use it for the majority of my sharpening, but I still have it because there's times that sharpener just is great for certain things. And let me show you these blades. And the minute I saw them, I thought, you know what? I'm probably going to use the Ken Onion Elite sharpener on that. So these are interesting. Very heavy, flat ground on one side and a convex edge on the other. They definitely need some work. They're pretty highly polished. And I've done similar blades and I believe this guy owns an Indian restaurant. He called them onion blades because I guess they probably cut lots and lots of onions with them. And he brought me 3 of them. So I'm going to sharpen these, and a couple of them are a little bigger, a little heavier, heavy duty. But when I saw this, my first thought was this would be perfect for the Ken Onion Elite. It's not something that I'm going to take to my Tormek machine. I could, but I just know from experience something like this could be kind of difficult on the Tormek. I could do it on a 1x30. I could do it on my 2x42, which I thought about doing, except for my 2x42, I'm actually having some custom wheels made for right now. So I sent the original drive wheel off to a company who is going to make me some custom wheels for it, so it will be able to do other things. So they're rubberized wheels, so I can use the wheel to push into it, because the original wheel was all aluminum. And he's also adjusting the size, because my 2x42 is a buck tool, doesn't have enough clearance to do Scotch-Brite belts, so he's going to make me a wheel that will have enough clearance without having to cut the machine apart to do Scotch-Brite belts. So if that machine was up and running, I would probably use my 2x42. But as you can see, multiple ways to approach something. There's no right and there's no wrong. There's what works and what makes your customer happy. And so that's it. I'm gonna get started on my day of sharpening, and I just wanted to have this just small little chat video about, don't be discouraged. Don't think if you see guys with tons and tons of equipment or been at it for a long time that you need to replicate all that. You don't. You can start small, build it a step at a time. You don't need to start out doing everything, Start out doing knives, then expand, if you want to get into scissors and shears and doing other things, or if you start getting lots of requests for stuff, that's a good area to look into expanding into. And if you need training, like I said, my recommendation, I didn't do it at the time. I'm a member now, but when I started, I didn't know about the Guild of Professional Sharpeners. I wish I did. Probably would have saved me a lot of money and a lot of mistakes that I learned making the hard way with my business. But that's that. And like I said, also the other one, that's a great book. If you can't, the course for the Guild is, if you're looking for the full learning course, is in the area of $1,000, but it's great training. But if you can't afford that, I would recommend the book from Kyle Kaplan. It's very good. Kyle covers a lot of stuff about sharpening. He's a wicked edge guy, so he pushes the wicked edge. Just keep in mind, that would be my only, I wouldn't even say criticism, but the wicked edge may not be the best choice for you starting out. So if you know that going in, just know Kyle worked for Wicked Edge for years, and that's his choice, and that's how he likes to sharpen, and it suited his style of business. So that's it for this one. I'm going to get started working, and I'll probably make a separate video for these so you guys can watch that or see that at some time if you want to see how I attack these onion cutting blades. Have a great day, everybody. Talk to you later.